you looking forward to the new season of the Champions League? And then on the outrights, who are you kind of feeling will win the Champions League this year?
Well, I mean, for all we'd look to the usual names. I suppose most people go with kind of, even though they haven't won it, City or Paris Saint-Germain for their transfers. I'd again return to something we've talked about in the Premier League show, which is that the weekend show, which is that this is going to be completely distorted by the World Cup. I think that's arguably more the case in Europe, just because it's midweek games. One thing we've seen in Champions Leagues in the past actually has that when you get into these situations, and this happened when in the first major shift to the football calendar, back when the Champions League expanded around 1999, what you had at that point was a lot of clubs who weren't in their domestic title races who were going the distance, basically because I suppose clubs were still adjusting, and it was very difficult to fight on both fronts until they started to build these super clubs. And because this season is just something we've never had before, it's why I think it could favour someone outside a title race. I think it'd be a difficult season for someone, say, to do a treble or a double. And that's with that connected to how badly they've started the Premier League, it's why I've sort of fancied Liverpool here. I think we could well be in a situation where suddenly, because obviously we know the base quality of their team, it does feel like it's already shaping up where they could have a league season where things don't go as smoothly as some of their title races in the past. And if that happens, I do wonder whether then they'll suddenly they should be relatively comfortable in top four, and suddenly Europe, like say 2005, becomes a major focus, or 2019 as well, given how that season shifted as well. And it's just why I kind of fancy Liverpool. And also the other side of that is they should have far fewer starters at the World Cup than some of the biggest Champions League clubs.
Interesting, Mark. I know you kind of hinted that you do kind of like Liverpool, but maybe want to leave that off and you're looking for a couple of value plays. But for you, is it the Premier League centered around this season's Champions League?
I think it has to be. Yeah, they've made up 6 of the last 10 finalists, and I know Real Madrid have won 5 titles in 9 years, but that's unprecedented. And the way in which they did it last year involved, whether you want to call it luck or fortune or whatever it is, they were outplayed in at least 3 of those knockout ties and still managed to burgle their way into the final. It was a real sort of a minor miracle that they managed to get that far, let alone win it. So I think obviously Man City are fair favourites, but you look at the Premier League, got the best coaches in the world, the biggest budgets, the biggest squads, the strongest squads. But right now, I just think it might pay to wait really until February, because nothing's going to be decided until next year, really. As Miguel says, there's a World Cup in the between. So much can change. Liverpool right now, you wouldn't fancy them as serious contenders, but come February, they more than likely absolutely will be. And so I think you've got to sort of respect the Premier League. I think if you look at the nationality of the Champions League winner, English clubs, or the Premier League is an odds-on shop, which kind of shows the strength that the Premier League holds right now. But I just thought Tottenham, people will scoff at the dimension of them, but Spurs at around 17 to 1, 18.0, more than double the price of Spurs, of Liverpool, I should say. I think they've really sort of retooled their squad brilliantly over the summer. They've got quality across midfield and forward areas. I think the defence is an improving process under Conte. Best points return of the Premier League this calendar year. A strike force that's as good as most in the competition, if not better than possibly 2 or 3. A seriously impressive coach in Conte. I know he's got a horrendous Champions League record, and that's something you need to bear in mind. But I just think you look at their most recent matches against 2 of the market leaders, Man City and Liverpool. They've more than held their own. So why can't they sort of topple 1 or 2 of those over 2 legs? You also, with a Premier League club, you get the benefit of not having to meet another English club in the last 16 if you get through. So then you're looking at potentially a 17 to 1 shot in the quarterfinals, which I think is a really big carrot to have if you're on Tottenham, really. So yeah, they're one. I got another sort of wilder shout, which is more of a back to lay proposition, but I think Napoli at 150 to 1 is writing them off far too soon. I know Italian clubs haven't sort of made great hay in recent competitions, and they have sort of lost a lot of key players, but they've really sort of recruited brilliantly over the summer, and I like what they've done so far this season in a tricky group, which is what works against them. But I think the Diego Maradona Stadium will be quite an intimidating prospect for an Ajax team that's seen huge turnover. Rangers are an obvious danger, but I think they should be able to take at least 4 points off them. And then it's Liverpool, who are in no great shakes and have to go there first up. So there's a real opportunity for Napoli to pick up possibly at least 1, maybe 3 points. And yeah, if they get to the last 16, that price will probably be halved. So 150 to 1 on Napoli is a back to lay.
So Napoli, 150.0. Very quickly, for those that don't understand, Mark, on the back to lay, what would be your sort of strategy regarding that?
Yeah, just back them now and then wait till we'll see how they progress and hope that they get through to the knockout stages. If they win the group, they'll have a softer last 16 opponent, you would think. If not, we've just got to wait and see. But in theory, that price will contract, and when it does, you get an opportunity to lay the price off and effectively guarantee a payout really without having to see Napoli go the whole distance. So it's just a case of playing the prices and trading out when needs be.
Very good. And as Mark said, currently 150.0 and Tottenham are actually 19.5. So some couple of big value plays for Mark O'Hare. Adrian, Clarke, I'm just going to read out the prices, the top in the market. So Man City are 3.65 to win the Champions League. PSG 7.0, Liverpool 7.6, Bayern 8.6, and Real Madrid 12.0. You like one of those top teams?
Yeah, I'm drawn to PSG, and I know that they've blown it on numerous occasions, and a little bit like Manchester City, people are sort of wanting them to fall because of the ownership issues and whatnot. But I don't know. I think this feels like something different is happening at PSG coaching wise this year with Galtier. He seems to have forged a nice team ethic. They're nice, very professional across the first few games, and crucially, Messi's back on form. Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, they seem to have bought into it, and yeah, they're all in the goals. And I think that of all, and while I absolutely can see the direction that Miguel was taking, and Mark really with backing an outsider maybe this year because of the World Cup, with PSG, I think that they're likely to be in a very strong position domestically come the business end of this tournament, where they can rest and rotate at key times and make sure that the main men are fresh for the big knockout ties. So yeah, look, with Manchester City, I still don't think they've really solved the defensive issues. They've been quite wobbly against Villa, against Newcastle. So I can't say with any assurance that they've solved what's been their problem. Liverpool haven't started the season well. Bayern Munich have been a bit rocky as well. And Real Madrid, you think, well, surely they can't do it again with so much good fortune on their side last season. So look, I'm looking at PSG, but I do think it's fairly wide open this year. It should be a great and exciting Champions League campaign.
Just on City, just as you're talking there, Adrian, and I agree that they haven't actually solved their main issue. And I think it's going to be interesting when it gets to the knockout stage, especially because, and Guardiola already referenced or touched on this after the Newcastle game where they conceded 3. What's his primary concern in Europe? What's every single move he's made in Europe that ended up working against him, but has been an issue? He's wanted control. Now, bear with me here, but I don't think it's outlandish to see a situation come the knockout stages where huge game and Haaland is dropped because he wants another midfielder in there to maintain control. Just because the way his mind works in these sort of games. Because obviously, I mean, with the way Haaland plays as well, and this is relevant. I think this is a much more relevant issue to this discussion over his touches and how much he's been praised for this. But ultimately, in these sort of games, I mean, if Pep Guardiola had his ideal, a 1-11 would basically be kind of 5'8" midfielders. 5'8" number 8.
It'll be trademark Pep in the Champions League semi-final to leave Haaland out, and they'll blow it. Yeah, that would the accusations of overthinking will rear their head again. I can see it happening. I think you're onto something.
But it does feel like, I mean, and obviously in the Premier League, Haaland's goals will surely just drive them to what I think would be a comfortable enough title, though we'll see. But the way he plays just kind of stretch the team. It can stretch the team a little bit, which leaves greater gaps for a team that are really all about kind of squeezing space with the ball and making it so difficult to get it off them.
Yeah, and you even think of Pep, maybe he doesn't want Haaland to win him that Champions League. You know what I mean? If he's kind of dropping him for a big game and does it without him, then you can say he did that. But I did not think we'd be discussing dropping Haaland in the Champions League outright. Fancy's preview podcast, but here we are.